Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing?
Good.
You sure?
Yeah.
We have Alex with us today, but he's not on Zoom yet. So hopefully he'll make a noise or grunt or something so we know that he's on there. But Alex is our corporate attorney, so he's going to go into E&O, risk management. It's really good stuff, okay? How many of you are betting on the Super Bowl? You're liars. You're all lying. You're lying. You're lying. I damn, of course. Come on. We have some boxes up on the wall. It's $20 a box. 4 people are going to win $400, $400, $400, and $800. Wow. Pretty good gig. But we got 20 boxes left, so I don't want to have to buy the rest, okay? Okay. As some of you know, I worked at the MGM for a while, so I have a handful of degenerate gamblers that I could speed dial in a minute, and they would take all those boxes. But we don't want them to do that, you know? We already have a few outside people that took some boxes, which is fine, because it's not filled up yet. But these guys are such gamblers. When I worked at the MGM, you have a 20-minute break every 40 minutes if you're a dealer. So it's a pretty good gig. You deal for 40 minutes, you go on break for 20. Deal for 40, go on break for 20. It's not a bad gig. So during this 20-minute break, one guy said he had a can of Coke. One guy goes, "How quickly can you drink that Coke?" I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute. He goes, "Go get another Coke. Drink both of these in 1 minute. I'll give you $100."
Whoa! Did you do it?
He did it. He did it. I don't know what happened the rest of the night. You know, I didn't see him because we all go our different ways as dealers. But he sucked down 2 Cokes in less than 60 seconds for $100. Crazy, crazy. So, yeah, how crazy is that, right? So, anyway, so that's Alex. He'll be here momentarily. Go over E&O, what's covered, what's not covered. He might even talk about some recent, what do we call? Did he put claims that we might have, where we're involved in, not a lawsuit per se, but someone's, oh, Alex, you're there.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to chit chat right now, or do you want to wait a little bit?
Whatever's easier for you, Tim.
All right, we see your pretty face, so you're gonna do it right now, big fella. Come on, let's do this. They're waiting for you anyway.
Okay. I'm not sure what we're doing right now, but
I don't either. I don't either, but
20 items.
but I'll entertain them for a minute or two, because I'm gonna mess this up. Suze, I'm gonna mess this up.
I don't want to mess it up
No,
either.
how do we get rid of that?
you tell me when you want me to go, Tim. I can't really
Close.
hear everything.
Maybe close?
A lot of background noise, so just tell me, just give me a thumbs up so I can see it.
Okay. Can you see us at all, Alex?
Yeah, I can.
You can, great. Yeah, I did it with the remote, right? Ah, shit, I'm afraid to touch it.
HDMI 1.
Bam.
Good.
Yep, we're good. All right, Alex, you're looking good. Give me 2 minutes, and I'll just do some more stuff here real quick. So we have the Super Bowl pool, if you want to get involved in that. I shouldn't say we're all. Some of us are giving blood today. If you want to give blood, the blood mobile is going to be in the parking lot from now until 2. So it's always a good thing to do. I think they give us something, too. Don't they give us a little keychain or something? I don't know. Well, whatever. They used to give tickets like to a show years ago. Like, give blood, you get 2 tickets to, Jay Leno or something. But that time has passed. So, also, there's 2 CE classes coming up that are free. One with Lee Dreisen for 1 credit, has to do with, I think, probate, and a 3 CE credit class for free with Mike from Solar Verde, from Solar Certified. You need to be in that class. You really, really do. The solar stuff. It's coming back, and it's a little tricky, to say the least here, So, well, gang, that's Alex Mihai. He's the corporate counsel for all 500-plus Realty One Group offices. Go figure, right? Go figure. So, Alex, I think you can kind of see me a little bit, right?
Yeah, I can see all you guys. Yep.
Gotcha, okay. So if you want to start chatting away, I'm sure they'll have some questions maybe, but please, take it away. Let me get...
So, guys, for those that haven't met, my name's Alex.
Easy.
Volume 53. Volume 66.
Sorry, there was some background noises there. For Realty One Group, and really,
Volume 74.
I keep getting a sound coming in.
Yeah, you're good, Alex. That was me. My bad.
Okay, all right, it's all good. So yeah, I've been with the company since 2015. I basically myself and Mika Rock, who I think is on this call, and our legal assistant here at the hub in California, we are basically the legal department. We use a lot of outside counsel to help us. We have outside counsel in Nevada, who I think has talked to your office. We have outside counsel in Arizona as well. And we basically oversee all legal affairs of Realty One Group, and that includes any sort of E&O claims that happen in our broker offices. We have 4 offices in Nevada. We have, I think, 7 or 8 offices in Arizona. Those are all managed through a designated broker. It's Mark Otero in Nevada. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. In Arizona, it's somebody else. And we have an individual named Pat Kelly, who's a good friend, professional friend, I guess, that oversees all of our brokerage operations. And so one of the tasks that we have in legal is ensuring that we have adequate insurance in terms of the policy limits we have for the real estate services that we render, which is through our agents, and the coverage that we have, protects us in the event of various claims. So we charge our agents what's called a risk management fee. I think that's the term. Maybe it's called an E&O fee. I believe there was a recent increase in that fee. I'm not really here to address that increase. I don't know what you guys pay exactly. I think it's like, I don't know, $700 a year or something like that, maybe $600 a year.
$695.
I don't really know, but I can tell you that what I do know is that our premiums have gone up significantly in the last, I would say, 2 years. So this last renewal that we did in July and the year before, I think it's just a function. It's just a function of insurance costs going significantly higher. So, that is taking place. Maybe you've seen that with other insurance lines that you may have in your personal side, your home insurance or your auto insurance. It just seems like everything has gone significantly up, including our E&O insurance. And it's a very specialized area of insurance. Not all insurance companies cover real estate professional services. We've been pretty good on the claims side. Claims side meaning how many lawsuits we have against us. Generally, any given year, we have somewhere around 10 to 15 lawsuits that are active between Arizona and Nevada. And I would say that between those 2 states, we probably do somewhere around 20,000 or so transactions a year. That's pretty good. It's been a little bit light in the last couple of years. You guys know the real estate climate's been a little bit lighter. We do see that in California, at least. Pendings are picking up. So the last 2 months have been very positive. We have a lot of pendings in our system right now. We don't quite see that yet in the desert states. And anyways, I'm not here really to talk about our statistics, but things are getting better in California, and I think that's going to be a reflection of our desert states as well. So that's good news. So 10 to 15 claims, around 20,000 transactions. The odds are very good in our favor. You're not likely to see litigation, but in the event you do, we do these sorts of presentations. And I'm going to speak briefly about your insurance so you know what you're paying for. If I were an agent, I'd want to know what is this fee that I pay you for? And I guess it's been increased in the last year. So I'll tell you what you're paying for. And I will go into some recent cases that we've had, a couple of them. And I try to focus a lot of the discussion on sort of what's not covered under our policy. I've done that before, but I think it's important to always reiterate the types of conduct that is not covered by E&O. So you know sort of what conduct not to engage in, because if you do those things, you're not going to have insurance for it, and you're going to have to get your own lawyer if you get sued. Any questions so far? I tend to talk fast. It's not because I'm nervous. I don't think I'm nervous, but I just talk fast because I want to be very efficient with everyone's time. So if I'm talking too fast, or if you want me to reiterate a point again, just raise your hand. This is supposed to be interactive. I'm not here to lecture at you or sell you anything or do anything like that. I am here to give you information. Okay, so our insurance policy. Let me put on my cheap little Pasco glasses. They're very effective and they're at a bargain price. There we go. Our policy is it's a year-long policy. It runs from July to July, and I tell you those dates. It's actually July 23rd to July 23rd of every year. It's what's called a claims-based policy, so we have to report our claims within the policy period to have coverage. We need to report our claims within the policy period to have coverage. So if you get a claim, and we'll talk about what a claim is, but if you get a claim, like you get a text message from buyer that you used to represent, and this buyer isn't happy because they purchased a home, and there's material things about the home, like the roof's not in good condition, or the AC's broken, or they have these various complaints. The electrical's bad. They have some black and green spots on their base molding that they think is some sort of fungi or something, and they say, you never told me about these things, and I wouldn't have bought the house had I known about these things. So I need $50,000 to go fix these things. Okay, that's generally considered a claim, something that alleges wrongdoing. You didn't tell me, and I want money. That's typically what's defined as a claim. If you get a text message like that, let's say you get one tomorrow, we have to report that text message, that claim, right? That allegation of wrongdoing along with the demand. We have to report that within the policy period to get coverage. If we don't, if we wait on it, like if you get the text and you're like, oh shit, what do I do with this? I'm not sure. I don't think I did anything wrong. Tim's out of town, and I don't really know him that well, and yeah, I think he can help, but I'm just gonna tuck this away here, put it on my oh shit stack, and deal with it later. And then we get a lawsuit. That plaintiff says, I'm gonna get a lawyer because they're not responding to me. They get a lawyer, they file a lawsuit against us in August, so they wait 6 months, their statute of limitations is not run. They file a lawsuit in August. I then receive notice of the lawsuit, we get served. I report that lawsuit to our insurance carrier. The first thing our carrier usually asks me is, when did you first have notice of this claim? And I'm gonna say, August. Well, first I'm gonna call the agent and the relevant parties because I've been, kind of burnt by this before. But if I were doing my job, in the most accurate way possible, I would just say August, because that's my most accurate answer. The carrier's going to say, okay, and we find out later that there was notice given in January because you got that text message, and that was the first notice of the claim. We will be denied coverage, okay? Because we reported the notice of the claim in August, and our policy expired in July. Everybody with me on that? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
Oh man, come on guys. You guys have to report these damn claims to us or we don't have coverage. I need you to know this.
Alex, the question. Alex,
Yeah.
would the new policy
Yeah.
pick it up? Or if the policy continued?
No.
No, right?
That's the exact point I'm trying to make here.
okay.
The new policy will not pick it up. Unless we first have notice under that new policy. But
January.
when I'm in my example here, I'm telling you that you receive a text tomorrow, which is going to be February 6th or something. I can't even see. What day is it tomorrow? February 7th is tomorrow. If you get a text on February 7th saying you've done something wrong and I want money because you did something wrong, and we don't report it until August when the lawsuit comes in, or we just feel like reporting it in August for some reason, we will be denied coverage because we didn't timely report it. That's the way most insurance companies work. You have to report it within the policy period. They don't want us sleeping on our rights and just putting these things to the side. They want us to actively
It's different
report our
statutes of
claims so they can
limitations,
give us coverage for it.
And Alex, do we?
Next year I might be under a new policy. That new carrier is not going to want to pick up coverage for what this old carrier, things that happened during the policy period before. So I hope that makes sense. So if you receive any type of notice, it could be an email, it could be a text message. Usually verbal conversations, we can kind of get around that, but even on a verbal conversation, you should tell Tim right away. Our policy says that we have to report them within a reasonable amount of time within the policy period, which is July 23rd to July 23rd. Okay? So report it so we can get coverage. It's your coverage and it's my coverage. We're kind of in on it together. We're the broker and you're the agent acting on our behalf. We're both going to be sued. I'm going to be sued because I failed to supervise you and I let you do all those bad things without proper supervision and training. And then you're going to be sued because you didn't render your professional duties in an appropriate manner. So report things within the policy period. Tell Tim right away that you have some disgruntled person that's complaining about something, and then we'll handle it. We could either handle it internally, we'll deal with it by responding to a demand somehow, we'll give it to our lawyers, or we'll just report it to E&O. It really doesn't matter to me initially who's wrong or right or who did what. I don't really tend to care about that much. I just care if I have insurance coverage, because that's where everyone's going to get fussy around who's paying the defense fees. Defense fees are expensive and we don't want to pay out of pocket. We want our insurance company to pay for it. Okay, I think everyone got that.
Yes.
Okay. How much coverage do we have? Our policy gives us $2 million in coverage per claim. We think that's appropriate in Nevada. The average sale price is nowhere near that. It's probably 3 times less than that. So we think we're pretty good. We've never been really affected by the coverage limit. So it's $2,000 per claim. That's how much we have to pay for any verdict that's rendered against you or the brokerage and our defense fees. Okay? And it would cover settlements and everything else. So $2 million per claim. Okay.
2 million. He misspoke. It's 2 million.
What's covered? Okay, so the policy, the way it reads is we have a small little snippet paragraph of what's covered, and then we have several pages of things not covered. So what's covered is the insurance company paying on behalf of the insured, which is us, any damages or legal fees that we're obligated to pay because there's a verdict against us or something else by reason of a wrongful act in the performance of professional services that were rendered or that should have been rendered. So you're gonna get coverage for any wrongful acts in the performance of your professional services that were rendered or that should have been rendered. That's the error that you made or the omission that you made. Typical types of claims that we see are you failed to disclose something material about the house. You know, like if, you know, I know there's not really a place on the paperwork for you to do walkthroughs and identify what you see in your visual inspection. You're not supposed to do all that stuff. But if you walk in a house and you see something like a stain in the ceiling that's kind of orange colored, and based on your experience as a, I don't know, human being traveling through life, you might say to yourself, that looks like a water stain. That would be likely considered material to someone looking to buy that house, and you should disclose it. If you see a bunch of like little black ash around an electrical outlet, you might look at that and say, I wonder if that is due to some sort of electrical issue. It's not common to see that, so you should disclose something like that. Anything that you can visually see. You're not expected to turn over rugs and look underneath the rug to see if there's cracks. You're not expected to open cabinets, all those types of things. But something that you would see in plain sight through the naked eye, you should disclose. Information that you receive, maybe that you don't see. So you have a neighbor come to you during an open house. You're the listing agent. Neighbor comes to you and says, you know, I just really wanted to see this house. I've known this neighbor a long time. Did you know that last year there was a car that rolled down, we had this case happen once, a car that rolled down the street, and I guess the emergency brake wasn't on, and that car crashed into the house, and it just bulldozed into the house, creating significant damage, and the window was out. They had to redo the whole thing. Did you know that? And you're gonna be like, nah, I didn't know that. And then you're like, well, what do I now do with that information? Who knows, what would you do with that information? Somebody comes to you at an open house and says, hey, I've been the neighbor here for 20 years. Did you know that last year a car came down the street and it bulldozed into this house and they had to do all these repairs and it annoyed me because there was so much noise in construction for a year? What would you do with that information?
Blah, 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 I don't want to know.
Just
I didn't hear anything.
disclose it. Yeah, simple enough. I would give a few tips on this before we just go into the disclosure mode. One, I would send an email to your client, because you're the listing agent in this example. Send an email to your client, letting him know that you were hosting the open house. Give them some nice little information about the open house. It was really good. We had a lot of people come through. Start with a friendly tone, and then let them know. Interestingly, I had a neighbor come in, and the neighbor said to me all that stuff about the car. I just wanted to verify this information with you. So the first thing we want to do, because if you have no personal knowledge of something, like you didn't actually see the car, this is what's considered in the legal world hearsay. I know we're a little technical here. You first want to verify the information with somebody that does in fact have personal knowledge that you owe a fiduciary duty to. So your listing seller, you're the listing agent, the seller you owe a duty. You should get verification from that seller in writing. The seller can very well say to you before you go and disclose it, right? Because disclosure, the car hit the house last year. Say you disclose that. And then what if the seller comes and says, no, it wasn't a car. It was a kid on a skateboard that came down and he ran into my window and he broke the window. Much different explanation. So whose information do you want to disclose? Your seller's or the guy that has no interest and is a third party in this case? Probably the seller. And now you have it in writing from the seller as to what actually happened. That's the way you should try to think about it. Okay? And then, depending on what your seller says, you just then relay that information. You're like this conduit of information. You're not coming up with your own information. You have no personal knowledge. If you just move that information over to the relevant party. Okay? And that's how you might want to look at it. Okay. Let me go over a few exclusions for you guys. These are things that are not covered under our policy. Some of these things I'll mention, and then I'll go back and say, you know what, we actually paid a little extra, we got an endorsement for it, and I'll give you some examples. Bodily injury is typically not covered under E&O policies. So if you want to, I don't know, get into some sort of physical altercation with another agent from another brokerage that you don't like, that's at your open house, and they look at you funny, and then you decide to whack them or something, and they sue you, don't expect to have coverage for bodily injury. We have, I say that because that's 99% of insurance policies that I've seen. Real estate services don't anticipate bodily injury, right? You're not supposed to get in fights and do all that. Other types of policies, like general liability policies, like the one I have here in our building at the hub, people can slip and fall, people can hurt themselves. We have general liability policies for Tim's office there, so if you guys hurt yourselves, there's coverage for that. E&O policies don't contemplate that people are going to get hurt in the course and scope of a real estate transaction. This has happened, however. And so we have paid for what's called an endorsement to our policy, meaning we pay a little bit extra and we go get coverage for that thing that's excluded. Bodily injury is something that we paid extra for to get coverage. We had a case that recently settled in Nevada. I don't know what office it is, and so if there's a relevant party in this office listening right now, then I'll mention the case. It's subject to confidentiality to a certain extent, but the lawsuit itself is a public filing and things of that nature. So the case settled, and we had an agent that was showing a property, and I might not have all the facts totally clear, but I know most of it because we just recently worked on it. Agent was showing a property. The agent brought a little girl, she was a minor, with him to this showing. He was, I guess they were friends, the parents are friends, the agent is our agent, the listing agent. He has a friend that they go to church or whatever. Hey, let me bring your daughter, I'm gonna show her the ropes. She's interested in becoming an agent one day. She's in her early teens or something. And I'll take her to these showings and kind of show her how things work in the real estate world. Okay, that was his idea. So he's at the showing. The buyer and the buyer's agent want to test the garage door. They're just looking at things. Let's test the garage door. They notice that the motor is not plugged in. It's usually plugged into the ceiling. It's not plugged in. So somebody gets the bright idea of giving the little girl a boost. Let me give you a boost to go plug it in. And usually those motors are reinforced by metal brackets that have little circles in them. I don't know what those circles are called, that's the technical term, but they're metal brackets. And the young lady ends up putting her finger in one of those brackets as she's maneuvering to plug the thing in. The agent or whoever's trying to boost her up there, they fail to properly do that, and her pinky gets severed. We call it the severed pinky case. So this little girl no longer has a pinky. This is considered bodily injury. I told you at the beginning, in a case like this, I don't necessarily care who's wrong or right or who did what. What's important for me and for the agent, I would hope, is that we have insurance for it, because the value of a pinky is not cheap, as we know in this case, because we settled it recently. But we did have insurance coverage for it, which is good news. And we got through it. So that's one example of a bodily injury. We've also had people, we had one in Arizona just recently, another open house. The agent is tending to clients that are walking through. We have the listing on it. Agent's tending to people walking through. One of the buyers is looking at the backyard. It's a husband and wife situation. The gentleman goes into the backyard. There's a swimming pool there. The swimming pool is not filled with water. The pool's not in good condition. There's some cracking. The tiles are broken. So there's no water in it. It's an 8-foot pool. He decides to go on the diving board and take a closer look at the cracks and whatever he's taking a look at. Agent is not aware that this is happening from what we understand. He is on the diving board and the diving board fails. It breaks and he falls in the pool and he breaks a leg. He breaks a leg and we have an image of him. It's kind of a funny image. We laughed about it a little bit. We shouldn't have laughed, but we did. He was at the bottom of the pool, kind of in a position like this with a broken leg, and I don't know what folks were thinking, but the first thing they were thinking is, let me take a photo of this guy at the bottom of the pool. And we have images of him at the bottom of the pool with apparently a broken leg. That's in Arizona. That's still in litigation, as far as I know. And I know Miga's on this call too. Miga probably would know better. She handles that claim. But that's another example of bodily injury. So in that one, we have a defense that we're going to present. A large part of our argument is comparative fault. This individual should have seen this condition, should not have gone on the diving board. He is comparatively at fault. Whether or not we should have put some warning tape out there or something. The agent really didn't know the condition of the diving board, nor is she expected to know the condition of the diving board. The pool is empty, it's in plain sight. He took a certain risk there by going on it, and then we're in litigation on it. The good news is that we have coverage, and that's what I want you guys to understand, that we do have coverage for a claim like that.
Alex,
Because it involves bodily injury.
did the
Okay.
seller have any, did the seller have to be involved in that? As if maybe he knew that there was problems?
The seller is involved in that. In the pool case, yes, the seller is involved in that one. We are usually friends with our sellers when we list the house until litigation happens. And then the lawyers get involved and they just end up suing everybody. So if anyone's in the best position to know the condition of the diving board, it should have been the seller. The seller did not disclose the condition of the diving board that would fail.
Right.
So everyone just kind of ends up pointing the finger at the other. That's what we kind of do. And that's how it works in litigation. So we want to deflect as much fault on other people because our agent, we feel, wasn't in the best position to know the condition of the diving board. We feel the seller was, and we just let the lawyers sort of, usually these things get negotiated, and the lawyers sort of negotiate how much fault each party has. The plaintiff will sort of absorb some of the fault and then take less in the settlement, and so that's kind of how it's looked at. But yes, the seller, in my mind, would have some liability in that regard. And the seller, I think, in that one has some general liability insurance, so the lawyers attack that pot of money as well.
Thank you.
Okay, other areas that are not covered. So